The executioner didn't wear a black hood or carry an axe. She wore a business suit and carried a smartphone. Her weapon wasn't a blade. It was busyness. Her method wasn't swift decapitation. It was slow suffocation of purpose through endless activity. Every day, she efficiently executed dreams under the guise of being productive, systematically murdered potential under the mask of being practical, and methodically assassinated purpose under the cloak of being professional. Her victims weren't bound by ropes. They were chained by comfort. Their bodies weren't found in execution chambers, but in corner offices. Not in dungeons, but in boardrooms. Not in prison, but in places of prestige. The evidence of their execution wasn't blood. It was a calendar full of meaningless meetings, a life full of purposeless activity, and a legacy empty of significant impact. They weren't killed by failure. They were executed by success at things that didn't matter, by achievement of goals that didn't count, by accumulation of accolades that wouldn't last. The mortician stood silently, preparing another body for burial. But this wasn't a typical funeral preparation. This was the burial of someone's untapped potential. Another dream that died while its owner was still breathing. Another purpose unfulfilled while its carrier still walked the earth. Another destiny abandoned while its bearer still lived. Every day, we witness the most tragic funerals. Not of people who have died, but of people who have stopped living while still alive. They breathe, they move, they exist. They buried their dreams under the soil of excuses, entombed their purpose in the casket of comfort, and sealed their destiny in the vault of mediocrity. I'm going to ask you something that might disturb your peace. What part of you died while you were busy surviving? What dreams did you bury while you were occupied with existing? What purpose did you entomb while you were focused on fitting in? You see, the most dangerous death isn't physical. It's the death of purpose while the body still lives. It's the death of passion while the heart still beats. It's the death of potential while the mind still thinks. But here's what makes this particularly tragic. This death doesn't happen dramatically. You don't wake up one morning and decide to kill your dreams. You don't consciously choose to bury your purpose. You don't intentionally entomb your destiny. It happens gradually, silently, systematically. One compromise at a time, one excuse at a time, one postponement at a time. Until one day you look in the mirror and can barely recognize the fire that once burned in your eyes. Think about water for a moment. When it stops flowing, it becomes stagnant. When it becomes toxic, it can no longer support life. When you stop pursuing it, it becomes stagnant. When it becomes stagnant, it becomes toxic. When it becomes toxic, it can no longer sustain your spirit. But here's what makes this even more devastating. You're wasting something that belongs to humanity. You're not just squandering your potential. You're squandering a gift that was meant to serve the world. You're not just burying your dreams. You're burying solutions that someone desperately... Let me show you something deeper about purpose that might shake you awake. Your purpose isn't just about you. It's connected to other lives. It's linked to other destinies. It's tied to other futures. When you waste your life, you're not just wasting your time. You're wasting someone else's answer. Think about a library full of unwritten books. Think about a hospital full of undiscovered cures. Think about a world full of unsolved problems. That's what happens when people waste their lives. That's what occurs when individuals bury their potential. That's what results when humans entomb their purpose. But here's where it's personal. Someone is waiting for what you're wasting. Someone is praying for what you're postponing. Someone is desperate for what you're delaying. I'm going to ask you something that might disturb your comforts. How many lives are remaining unchanged because you are unwilling to change? How many problems are remaining unsolved because you're unwilling to step up? How many solutions are remaining undiscovered because you're unwilling to dig deep? You see, wasting your life isn't just about missing your potential. It's about missing your moment. It's not just about losing your purpose. It's about losing your place in history. It's not just about burying your dreams. Think about an eagle in a chicken coop. It has the same wings as other eagles, the same potential to soar, the same capacity to rule the skies. But because it's surrounded by chickens, it scratches in the dirt, pecking at seeds, wasting its potential to soar above storms. That's what happens when you waste your life. You're not just choosing less than your best, you're choosing less than what you were created to be. You're not just settling for mediocrity. You're settling for a counterfeit version of yourself. Just what makes this particularly crucial. The world doesn't need another chicken. It needs eagles to rise. Humanity doesn't need more conformists. It needs transformers to emerge. Society doesn't need more spectators. It needs participants to engage. Let me share something about waste that might change how you view every moment. Time isn't just passing, it's passing judgment. Every moment isn't just a tick of the clock. It's a verdict on how you're using your potential. Every day isn't just a page on the calendar. It's a chapter in your legacy. Let me share with you what happens when potential goes to waste. I'm not talking about the obvious waste, the kind everyone can see. I'm talking about the sophisticated waste, the kind that masquerades as success, disguises itself as stability, and masks itself as maturity. Every day in offices around the world, people are dying while collecting paychecks. They're not dying physically. They're dying spiritually, emotionally, purposefully. They've traded their dreams for dental insurance, swapped their purpose for a pension, and exchanged their destiny for a desk. It's what makes this particularly, they label it maturity. They name it wisdom. But let me ask you something that might shake your settled spirits. Is it really responsible to waste what was given to you to change the world? Is it truly mature to bury what was meant to transform lives? Is it actually wise to entomb at what was designed to make history? Think about a lion in a cage. It's fed regularly. It's protected from danger. It's safe from harm. But is it really living? Is it fulfilling its purpose? Is it becoming what it was created to be? Or is it just existing? A mere shadow of its true potential. That's what happens when you waste your life in the cage of comfort. You're not just choosing safety over purpose. You're choosing existence over excellence. You're not just picking security over destiny. You're picking survival over significance. But here's where it gets even more tragic. The cage isn't locked. The door isn't sealed. You stay not because you can't leave, but because you become comfortable with confinement. You reap not because you're trapped, but because you're trained. You continue not because you're bound, but because you're bound by the invisible chains of comfort. Let me show you something deeper about comfort that might disturb your peace. Comfort isn't your friend. It's your mind in disguise. It's not your ally. It's your adversary in a mask. It's not your saboteur in sheep's clothing. Think about muscles for a moment. They don't grow in comfort. They don't develop in ease. They don't strengthen in convenience. They grow under stress. They develop under pressure. Your purpose operates under the same principle. It's what makes this waste particularly sinister. It feels responsible. It appears wise. It says things like, I'm just being realistic, when you're really being fearful. It claims I'm being prudent when you're really being paralyzed. It declares I'm being patient when you're really being passive. Themes have you that might expose the sophisticated. What dreams have you labeled unrealistic? Because you're afraid to pursue them. What purposes have you called impractical because you're unwilling to pay the price? What destinies have you termed possible? Because you're uncomfortable with the process. You see, waste doesn't always look like laziness. Sometimes it looks like busyness without purpose. Sometimes it appears as motion without movement. Sometimes it manifests as activity without advancement. Think about a hamster on a wheel. It's moving, it's active, it's busy. But is it really going anywhere? Is it really advancing? Is it really fulfilling its purpose? Or is it just engaging in sophisticated ways, motion without progress, activity without achievement, movement without meaning? That's what happens when you waste your life in the wheel of meaningless activity. You're not just busy. You're busy going nowhere. You're not just active. You're actively wasting your potential. You're not just moving, you're moving in circles. That makes this particularly crucial. Every moment spent on that wheel is a moment stolen from your destiny. Every hour invested in meaningless motion is an hour robbed from meaningful progress. Every day devoted to sophisticated ways is a day taken from significant impact. Let me share something about impact that might change how you view every moment. Your life isn't just about duration. It's about donation. It's not just about how long you live. It's not just about your time on earth. It's about your impact in history. Think about a tree for a moment. Its impact isn't measured by how long it stands, but by how much fruit it bears, how much shade it provides, how much life it supports. Your life operates under the same principle. They're so busy existing that they forget about impacting. They're so occupied with surviving that they neglect serving. They're so focused on maintaining that they miss transforming. Stand with me at the edge of cliff where something extraordinary is about to happen. Not a physical cliff, but the precipice between existing and living, between surviving and thriving, between wasting and becoming. Because right here, right now, we're going to confront the most devastating reality of human existence. The slow death of becoming less than what we actually. Every graveyard contains two categories of people. Those who died empty, having poured out everything they were given. And those who died full, having wasted everything they received. The tragedy isn't just in dying. It's in dying with your music still inside you, your book still unwritten, your purpose still unfulfilled. Now here's what makes this confrontation particularly urgent. You're not just wasting your potential, you're stealing from humanity. You're not just squandering your gifts. You're not just burying your talents. You're depriving generations. Let me ask you something that might shake your comfortable existence. How many lives remain unchanged because you're too comfortable to change? How many problems persist because you're too settled to solve? How many solutions stay hidden because you're too content to create? Think about a pregnant woman who refuses to give birth because labor is uncomfortable. Sounds ridiculous, doesn't it? Yet, that's exactly what happens when you refuse to birth your purpose because growth is uncomfortable. When you decline to deliver your potential because change is painful. When you choose to keep your gifts inside because transformation is challenging. But here's what makes this particularly devastating. It's affecting you, it's affecting everyone your purpose was meant to impact. Your settling isn't just limiting. It's limiting everyone your potential was designed to influence. Your waste isn't just hurting you. It's hurting everyone your gifts were created to serve. Think about an ocean without waves. Think about a sun without heat. Think about a tree without fruit. That's what happens when you waste your life in the cemetery of comfort. You become an ocean that doesn't move, a sun that doesn't warm. Let me show you something deeper about purpose that might disturb your peace. Your purpose isn't just about personal fulfillment. It's about universal contribution. It's not just about making you happy. It's not just about your satisfaction. It's about world transformation. There was people miss their moments. They're waiting for perfect conditions before they start. They're waiting for complete clarity before they move. They're waiting for total confidence before they act. Meanwhile, their purpose is dying in the womb of hesitation. Their potential is rotting in the grave of procrastination. Their destiny is decaying in the tomb of delay. Think about a seed for a moment. It doesn't wait for perfect conditions. It grows where it's planted. It doesn't demand ideal circumstances. It transforms its environment. It doesn't require complete certainty. It pushes through darkness toward light. That's how purpose works. That's how potential operates. That's how destiny unfolds. Not in perfect conditions, but in persistent pushing. Not in ideal circumstances, but in intentional growth. He'd ask you something that might expose your sophisticated excuse. What if the very circumstances you're waiting to change are waiting for you to act? What if the very clarity you're seeking can only come through movement? What if the very confidence you're waiting for can only be found in action? You see, waste doesn't always look like laziness. Sometimes it looks like perpetual preparation. Sometimes it appears as endless planning. Sometimes it manifests as constant contemplation without activation. Think about a plane on the runway. It doesn't generate lift while stationary. It doesn't create momentum while still. It doesn't fulfill its purpose while parked. It must move against resistance to rise. It must push through opposition to soar. It must confront friction to fly. Your purpose operates under the same principle. It doesn't activate in comfort. It doesn't manifest in convenience. It doesn't materialize in ease. It activates in movement, manifests in action, materializes in engagement. That's what makes this particularly crucial. Every moment you spend waiting is a moment someone spends wanting. Every day you spend preparing is a day someone spends needing. Every year you spend planning is a year someone spends suffering. Stop measuring your life in years lived and start measuring it in lives changed. Stop counting your breaths and start making your breaths count. Because right now, in this moment, we're going to confront the most sophisticated form of life waste. The art of being busy without being productive. Active without being impactful. Alive without truly living. Let me show you something about waste that most people never understand. The most dangerous form of waste isn't laziness. It's misdirected energy. It's not inactivity. It's doing everything except what you were created to do. Think about the river for a moment. When it flows in its proper channel, it generates power, sustains life, and transforms landscapes. But when it overflows randomly, it causes destruction, creates chaos. Your life energy works the same way. But here's what makes this particularly devastating. Most people aren't failing because they're not working hard. They're failing because they're working hard on the wrong things. They're not unsuccessful because they're not putting in effort. They're unsuccessful because they're investing their effort in activities that don't align with their purpose. Let me ask you something that might shake your busy schedule. Are you being productive or just active? Are you making progress or just making noise? Are you building a legacy or just building a routine? You see, being busy isn't the same as being effective. Movement isn't the same as progress. Activity isn't the same as achievement. Yet we've created a culture that celebrates busyness over effectiveness, motion over progress, activity over achievement. Think about a hamster in a wheel. It's busy, it's active, it's moving. But at the end of the day, despite all its energy and effort, that's what happens when you waste your life in purposeless activity. Lots of motion, little progress. Lots of effort, little impact. But here's where it gets even more tragic. The hamster doesn't just stay in the same place. It believes it's making progress. It doesn't just waste its energy. It feels accomplished in its waste. It doesn't just go nowhere. It celebrates its sophisticated form of going nowhere. Let me share something deeper about progress that might disturb your peaceful routine. Real progress isn't measured in activity, but in impact. It's not counted in hours worked, but in lives changed. Think about a tree for a moment. Its progress isn't measured by how much it moves, but by how much it grows. Its success isn't determined by its activity, but by its fruits. Its value isn't calculated by its busyness, but by its impact on its environment. But that's what makes this particularly crucial. You're not just wasting your time when engaging purposeless. You're not just squandering your energy. You're squandering your legacy. You're not just misusing your life. You're misusing a gift. What if your busyness is actually a disguise for fear? What if your constant activity is actually a mask for avoidance? What if your perpetual motion is actually a cover for procrastination? This is truth about purposeless activity that most people never grasp. It feels productive. It looks responsible. It appears valuable. But at its core, it's just another form of waste. Think about a person riding a stationary bicycle. They're pedaling hard. They're sweating. They're expending energy. That's what happens when you waste your life in purposeless activity. You're expending energy without creating progress, working hard without moving forward, being busy without being effective. They're so occupied with the activity that they forget to examine its purpose. They're so busy with the motion that they neglect to evaluate its direction. They're so engaged in the process that they fail to assess its impact. Let me show you something about impact that might change how you view every moment. Impact isn't accidental. It's intentional. It's not random. It's purposeful. It's not automatic. Think about an archer for a moment. They don't just shoot arrows randomly. They aim at specific targets. They don't just release energy. They direct it with purpose. They don't just engage in activity. Your life should operate under the same principle. Every action should have a purpose. Every effort should have a target. Every energy expenditure should have an intended impact. But here's what makes this transformation particularly powerful. When you shift from purposeless activity to purposeful impact, you don't just change your actions. You change your results. You don't just modify your behavior. You don't just alter your routine. You amplify your legacy. Let me share with you the most profound truth about transformation. It doesn't happen in the future. It doesn't wait for tomorrow. It happens right here, in this moment, when you decide that wasting your life is no longer an option. Not tomorrow. Not next week. Not when conditions are perfect. Every graveyard is filled with unfulfilled dreams. Not because people didn't have time, but because they thought they had time. They died with their music still inside them. Their books still unwritten. Their purpose still unfulfilled, not because they couldn't fulfill it, but because they were waiting for the right moment to begin. Let me ask you something that might forever change how you view time. What if this moment, right now, is the moment your entire life has been waiting for? What if this understanding you're right trying to grasp? What is this realization? In this instant is what your destiny has been pushing you toward. So think about a rocket on a launch pad. All its potential, all its power, all its purpose remains unrealized until the crucial moment of ignition. One moment it's stationary, the next it's breaking through the atmosphere. One instant it's earthbound, the next it's reaching for the stars. 1 second it's potential. But here's what makes this particularly urgent. Your life is that rocket. Your destiny is that trajectory. And this moment right now, is your moment of ignition. I want to show you something deeper about moments that most people never grasped. Every moment of realization is a moment of responsibility. Every instant of understanding is an instant of accountability. Every second of clarity is a second of obligation. Think about a person who discovers they're carrying a cure for a deadly disease. Would they be justified in waiting for perfect conditions to share it? Would they be right to delay until everything feels comfortable? Would they be wise to postpone until all uncertainties are resolved? That's exactly what happens when you waste your life waiting for perfect conditions. You're not just delaying your destiny. You're denying someone else's deliverance. You're not just postponing your purpose. You're preventing someone else's progress. You're not just holding back your gift. You're hindering someone else's breakthrough. But here's what makes this transformation particularly powerful. When you stop wasting your life, you don't just change your story, you change history. You don't just alter your path. You don't just modify your journey, you hack humanity. Share something about impact that might shake you awake. Your life isn't just about you. Your purpose isn't just personal. Your destiny isn't just individual. You're part of a bigger story, a greater purpose, a larger destiny. Think about a domino effect. One small piece falling in the right direction at the right time can trigger a chain reaction that affects pieces far beyond its immediate reach. Your life works the same way. Your actions, your decisions, your movements create ripples that reach shores you'll never see. They're waiting for big opportunities while wasting small moments. They're looking for major platforms while neglecting minor possibilities. They're seeking grand stages while ignoring immediate opportunities. I'll ask you something that might expose this sophisticated ways. What small action are you postponing while waiting for a big opportunity? What immediate impact are you neglecting while seeking future influence? What current possibility are you ignoring while awaiting perfect conditions? That's the truth about transformation that most people never grasp. It doesn't happen in one dramatic moment. It happens in multiple decisive moments. It's not one major decision. It's multiple minor decisions. It's not one giant leap. It's multiple small steps. Think about how a diamond is formed. It's not created in one instant of pressure. It's formed through sustained pressure over time. It's not made in one moment of heat. It's shaped through consistent heat over duration. It's not produced in 1 second of transformation. It's developed through continuous transformation over periods. More life transformation works under the same principle. It's not about one dramatic change. It's about consistent changes. It's not about one major shift. It's about multiple minor shifts. It's not about one huge transformation. Here's what makes this particularly crucial. Every moment you waste waiting for the perfect time is a moment someone else spends needing what you carry. Every instant you spend preparing for the right conditions is an instant someone else spends praying for your intervention. Every second you waste in hesitation is a second someone else wastes in desperation. Let me show you something about time that might forever change how you use it. Time isn't passing. It's pregnant with possibility. It's not just moving. It's loaded with opportunity. Think about a farmer for a moment. They don't just wait for perfect conditions. They create conditions for growth. They don't just hope for ideal circumstances. They cultivate circumstances for harvest. They don't just pray for favorable situations. They prepare situations for... Your life should operate under the same principle. Don't wait for transformation. Create conditions for transformation. Don't hope for impact. Cultivate opportunities for impact. Don't pray for change. And you stop seeing your life as something to spend and start seeing it as something to invest. When you stop viewing your time as something to pass and start viewing it as something to multiply. When you stop treating your energy as something to use and start treating it as something to leverage. Let me ask you one final question that might forever change your trajectory. What if today is the day that someone's breakthrough depends on your breakout? What if this moment is the instant that someone's deliverance awaits your decision? What if this second is the time that someone's transformation hinges on your transition? That's the ultimate truth about life was. It's about what you lose. It's about who loses because of your loss. It's not just about what you waste. It's about who remains in one because of your waste. It's not just about what you delay. It's about who stays in darkness because of your delay. This is your moment. This is your time. This is your season, not to exist, but to excel. Not to survive, but to thrive. Not to pass through time, but to transform time. Not to spend life. Not to waste potential, but to release purpose. The choice is yours. The time is now. The transformation awaits. Will you continue wasting your life in sophisticated mediocrity, or will you start living your purpose with magnificent intensity? Will you keep existing in comfortable waste, or will you begin thriving in purposeful impact? You're not just living a life. You're carrying a destiny. You're not just passing through time. You're pregnant with purpose. You're not just existing in history. You're designed to transform it. Make your life count. Make your time matter. Make your purpose manifest. Because someone's destiny is connected to your decision. Someone's breakthrough is linked to your breakout. Someone's transformation is tied to your transition. It all doesn't need another person existing. It needs you living. Humanity doesn't need another life wasted. It needs your purpose manifested. History doesn't need another story of what could have been. It needs your testimony of what can be. Not to stop wasting. Start living. Begin transforming.